Hello and welcome to this, the Books Crypto Club weekly catch-up on Zoom. It is Sunday the 24th of July 2022 and we're going to be talking about whatever we end up talking about really. Some weeks we're talking about cryptocurrencies, blockchain, DeFi, NFTs, ICOs, STOs, choose any three letters really. We end up talking about what the audience wants to talk about, so we don't have an agenda as such. So this session is open to novices and experts alike. So if you're a novice and you're just learning about the space and all these confusing letters and acronyms, come along and join us. There's a link to the actual meetings in the comments section below. Everyone is welcome. So if you're a novice, come and ask some basic questions. If you're an advanced person or you want to promote your project, then come along and come and have a chat. Anyway, let's see who's going to come and join us today. Hey, Pablo.
Nice to meet you, man. Nice to meet you, Gary.
Hey, welcome. Just going to let Mac in as well. Mac's just joining us as well. Join. Hey, Mac.
Hey, Kevin. How are you doing?
Hey, good, thanks. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Great.
Excellent. Still learning about blockchains. Yeah. And Web3, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, obviously there is a lot to cover on. So every day we've got to do.
Well, we've got Pablo joining us today. Pablo, what brings you along? A particular interest?
Actually, I'm working as a private, self-employed investor in crypto since 3 years ago, almost, I would say 3 years ago.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm really curious about, talk with somebody, especially in English, because I'm Spanish. This is not my main language. So I saw you the other day, I saw your podcast in YouTube, and I was like, oh, I really want to join this conversation, being honest.
Okay, well, my Espanol es muy malo, so we'll speak English definitely.
That's good anyway, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So you say you've been in the crypto space for a few years already. Is that right?
Yeah.
What is it you've been working on?
At first, I started 4 or 5 years ago as a daily trader in stocks, forex usually,
Okay.
bonds, and then I just discovered in 2018, 2017 crypto. And yeah, I was just trading at first, curious, about if was really true or not, these kind of markets.
Okay.
Because before I didn't believe anything, being honest, too much. And then when I was studying more and being curious about reading white papers and things like that, I was really interested about this, how really works all of this. Since 3 years ago, I still every day literally, I would say every day, checking new things, checking new, yeah.
There is so much to learn, definitely. Whereabouts are you based?
I'm based in Dublin actually now, in Ireland.
Okay.
But yeah, I was living in Australia for almost 2 years and a half, and in Sydney, and I was born in Spain, so yeah.
There's a great community in the crypto space in Dublin. In fact,
Really?
Yeah. Oh. There's a group who I think a number of their members are based in and around the Dublin area. And it's interesting that one of the people who was coming on these calls, she was based, I think it was around Dublin. She's just gone traveling for a few weeks at the moment, but she'll be back. So I think she's based around Dublin. And then in the blockchain community, there's lots of stuff going on in Dublin and Belfast in particular. So that whole area is a really great place to be. Because in Dublin, you've got down by the waterfront area, I've forgotten what you call it, but you've got a lot of the big consultancies and that, and there's crypto meetups and that kind of thing. So
I was living in Cork for 1 year in a row, and I just moved to Dublin 1 month, 2 months, 2 months ago actually. So I'm kind of new here yet, but yeah, I really like Dublin. Yeah, it seems really good. Yeah.
So send me a note via WhatsApp or something, and I'll send you the details of one of the Irish crypto groups I know.
Oh, that's really good, man.
Who are really good. They do things like training and they do weekly meetings now. I sometimes go on their weekly meetings.
That's good. I will send you for you. Thank you, man.
Cool. Okay. And we've got JT joined as well. Hey, JT.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, on which country are you in today, JT?
Country called London.
Sorry, just for the others' benefit, quite often this man is a globetrotter. Yeah. I'm sure you spend your time in Dubai, but now that George has come to the UK, maybe that will change.
Yeah, no, I'm just going all over the places,
Yeah. And we've got Mac. Are you? Was it south of India? You're based?
Yeah, I'm South India.
Was it Andhra Pradesh, if I remember?
It's below that, Tamil Nadu.
Tamil Nadu. Okay. Yeah. So not too far from Chennai and that kind of thing, I guess. But lots of things going on in that area as well. So how are you finding the whole Web3 space and what's going on, Mac? Anything that's particularly interesting you at the moment?
No, not yet. I got COVID for past 2 weeks. I got positive. So all I can do was sit in the home and go through all the study materials. That's it. Nothing else. I couldn't get with my other community people to share or do stuff. So I was basically in quarantine for the past 2 weeks. So I guess from this week on, I will get out and I have yet to research how things are going, how things went this month in Web3.
Okay.
Not pretty much from my side. I just want to know from you guys how things are going. I would be particularly interested about getting to know about JT because for the past few meetings I've been regularly watching him talk. So what is he basically? Is he a blockchain developer or how is he?
What was that? Sorry, about which person?
JT, the person who.
JT. Okay, yeah, JT. Who his logo is a kind of a. I describe it as an NFT avatar, even though it isn't an NFT. The two-dimensional shape picture.
Yeah.
So he is involved in various blockchain distributed ledger projects. I don't think he'd describe himself as a developer, but I know he works with development teams, and he and I have spoken to a number of times about the kind of projects he gets involved in. He does stuff around cybersecurity and a few other things. But he just dropped off, so we'll get him to introduce himself and show what it is he does.
That's great. So basically, he's a non-technical person into blockchain.
I think he's fairly technical. This is always the problem when you say whether you're a non-technical person or a technical person. I'm not a coder. You know, I don't write Solidity. I don't write Rust. I don't write C# or anything. But I'm probably a lot more technical than most business people would be, for example. So,
I get it.
Describing yourself as technical or not technical is a kind of a difficult one. JT,
maybe everyone has their own definition.
Indeed, JT, we were just talking about when you dropped off. I was being asked to describe whether you're a developer or not, and I was saying I didn't believe you are, but you get involved in blockchain developments. That's fair, isn't it?
Yeah, I do get involved. I used to be a programmer, CTO, and right from the beginning of Bitcoin. So I do get involved in tech stuff. Coding, I don't code anymore. Architecture, yes.
Yeah, I guess I'm similar in that respect. I did coding years ago, and I'm not a coder now. But Pablo, from your perspective, do you get your hands involved in coding things around the blockchain space?
Actually, I just did Python since 2 years ago, and I was trying Ethereum too. But I'm into Solidity more, I would say, like for the last few months. But not that, like I would say, like I'm a beginner yet. For sure, I will not call myself like an expert of Solidity. But yeah, it seems really interesting about this.
So you're able to write your own smart contracts?
Yeah, smart contracts. Smart contracts here. Smart contracts here.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess that all links in nicely with Web3, which is the area that Mac's focusing on. I guess that having smart contracts running on a blockchain, and then having a GUI front end or whatever that hooks into the smart contract all brings it together.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah. So Mac, there you go. You got a blend of people from the architecture side and potentially the developer side as well.
That's great because I am purely from a developer background.
Okay, so you're the developer expert for now. But I don't know generally for people at the moment, because the default tends to be everyone kind of begins with Ethereum and Solidity. And then as you start looking at the other blockchain offerings like Cardano, which I'm trying to remember which language Cardano uses mainly.
I don't remember the name, but I know one of the guys was working with Cardano, one of my friends, and they told me like it's super like mathematical, like the way they do the comments and things like that is like super like basic one at first, but it's super complicated. It's one of the most complicated ones in the blockchains. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember because I was speaking
Yeah.
to someone who was developing in that space the other day, and I don't know if it was something like Rust or something that they're using. But yeah,
Is it something like a well-known language? Because I see that Plutus, Marlowe, Glow, or some of the languages that people use for Cardano, but I don't see any popular languages like Python or C, something like that.
okay, you may be right, but that's a good thing about Python and that you can write things in Python and then call it from other areas, can't you? So yeah, it's something I'm just not close enough to that side of things. That Haskell. I just took a look at what Cardano is coded in, and it says that they're using Haskell, which I thought was related to Rust in some way, but it's so long since I've been coding. So switching it around then, any particular questions from anybody today? Pablo, just for your info, the way we tend to run these is that they're totally open. So for novices, they can ask questions. For more advanced people like yourself, if you've got questions or you want to share some things that you're working on or any news or anything, always interesting to hear.
I'm really curious about what kind of topics you guys talk about. I thought first I was kind of, because I'm not into too much about NFTs and Web3 things, actually not that much.
Okay.
But yeah, about blockchains, like different kind of blockchains and what they do and how they work, and new things coming. I know a few things because usually, like as a trader, I have to know what is coming and what is not coming.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really curious about you guys to speak about things like about Web3 or about NFTs or even about mathematical blockchains or something like this. I think I don't know too much about that, but technical analysis and these kind of things, I will say I know. Maybe you guys are better than me for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, Gary, I just have a basic question. So, is it the right time to ask, or shall I ask? Do you want to say something?
No, go on, Mac. Ask away, and then we'll come back to Pablo as well. We'll cover them both. Yeah.
Okay, so I just, I was exploring a bit around, and I see a lot of chains are coming around. So, for example, if you take Ethereum, you do things in Solidity. Whereas if you take Algorand, I think I guess you are using Thiel language to develop smart contracts. So every chain has its own language to develop smart contracts and write on-chain, off-chain codes. So from your perspective, like how do you think developers should choose a chain to learn or whether not to learn the development? Because it takes a significant amount of time to learn all these new language. And Thiel, I don't know how many people have heard about the Thiel language. So I just want to know how to choose a chain, whether to learn it or not, because there are like ton of chains coming out and they have their own languages to write off-chain, on-chain codes. What do you think about that? What's your perspective?
I'll quickly offer a view, and Pablo, as he's more into the coding side, might be able to. And that's simply, I would suggest use whatever is popular, because that tends to mean that things have got better documentation. There's better demand, there's better community support. So this is why, Solidity and Ethereum is a really good starting place. And I know a number of people who began their journey in the blockchain sphere by learning how to code in Solidity, and then have taken those skills and have learned other languages now. But by far at the moment, I think the Ethereum community is the largest, certainly one of the oldest, and well documented. So that's a good place to start, and then look at the areas like Cardano and Haskell and this kind of stuff, where there's a growing demand for that kind of thing. But I've always found it's easier to learn stuff when you're being paid to learn it. So you can find a company who'll get you to do some work on something, and you end up learning whatever they want you to learn for the customer type thing. I don't know, Pablo, do you have any thoughts on languages and that?
Yeah, we say like being honest, like if you want to get involved in this world, like about crypto and blockchains, I will advise people like at first to try to study Solidity, yes, because I don't know, like blockchain is always changing, but I think after Bitcoin, I think Ethereum is going to be always like, it's going to be there. We don't know in how many years, but it must be there, unless from the next years, 5 years, 6 years, I don't know, But yeah, maybe Solidity or even Solana too. I was hearing a lot of good things
Yeah.
about that. So Solana looks really good. They have really good things working on there. They have a lot of summer hackathon, like a lot of events doing like AVAX too. Solana AVAX, I would say Ethereum, 3 of them after Ethereum. But yeah, Ethereum first for sure. Like Solidity, I would say, is the best one.
Yeah, that's quite fair enough. I see we're just joining by Lawrence, who's trying to connect at the moment. But Pablo, just coming back to your points briefly, I think working backwards, I mean, I can work my way through technical analysis of looking at a chart as to what that actually means at the end in terms of predicting where markets are going and that. I don't think there's any certainty unless you're an active trader in some way. In terms of the what's going on in the blockchain space, this was really interesting. Alana, who used to come along to the sessions, I think her real area of interest was around supply chain and blockchains, and there's a lot of stuff going on in that. So in Ireland, for example, I've forgotten the name of the association now, but it was effectively the Irish Milk Marketing Board.
There is one Block Diamond, I think is the one you mean.
Maybe,
Yeah.
but they were certainly doing stuff on supply chain using blockchain, tracing cattle and that kind of thing. So there's always these things going on. It's a matter of how much they develop beyond the proof of concept, really. So yeah, I think Block Demon's another one.
You see, I know about them because I think it's American, but actually they have a really big base in Ireland too.
Okay.
And they did really like they develop a lot of nodes and especially for new companies because new companies are coming to Ireland since a few years ago.
Okay.
And they're developing a lot of good work with big companies, really big companies, yeah.
Okay. And this is the thing, that there's a lot of stuff going on. I was in Dublin a couple of years ago. I was presenting at a conference there, and I was listening to how keen the Irish Development Agency and various government departments were to attract businesses to Ireland. You know, and now you've got things like Blockchain Ireland, which is like a network of people who are trying to develop things on there. You know, and they're working with all sorts of things. So there's lots of stuff going on in that space, definitely.
Yeah, I was surprised even for myself when I came here. I didn't know about this, and then when I arrived after a few months, I was realizing like, wow, like people know a lot about this. You know what I mean? A lot.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think there is a lot of things going on, and trying to keep up with it is the kind of interesting one. So, I think Lawrence has just gone away. I was just about to say hello to him. This is sometimes the problem. You end up chatting to people, and then other people think they're being ignored, and they kind of drop away. So yeah, coming back to your points, technical analysis. Yeah, there are lots of people who claim to be expert in that. The thing to always watch out for is people who are very good at predicting what has already happened. You know, and these are the people who go through a chart and they'll say, "Oh, you look at this chart and what it did here, and that's a double head and shoulders, and that's blah blah blah." They never actually predict what's going to happen next. So
actually, yeah, in the long term, it actually is really hard. It's just purely theories about that, and let's see what is going to happen. You know what I mean? But there is no chances. Like this is 30% is going to happen, 40% this is impossible. Like nobody knows anyway.
Exactly, you're predicting the future. So, hey, Lawrence, have you managed to join us now?
Hello.
Hey there, welcome aboard.
Hi.
Oh, and he's got a cool background as well. That's even better. Can you hear us? Okay.
Yeah, no, I can hear you. You might lose me. I'm in a park where the signal's not very good, but
no problem.
But yeah, I've not been to one of these before, but I'm on the London Monday Crypto Club Telegram, and I just saw this was shared there, so I thought I'd join. I saw as I joined, it said Bucks on like the loading screen. Is that correct? You're in Buckinghamshire?
Yeah, that's right. So I actually started this group originally in Marlow in Buckinghamshire.
Okay.
A few years ago now, in the days when we used to actually physically meet. And I kicked it off in the local Starbucks, in fact, of a Sunday evening. And then when COVID kicked in, we transitioned it online. And so now it's open to absolutely everyone around the world. So, you know, we've got Pablo today in Dublin, we've got Mac in India, We've got JT currently in the UK, but he keeps flying all over the place. Some weeks we get people joining us from East and West Coast USA, Singapore, occasionally Brisbane. So yeah, so Milton Keynes is quite local.
But do you have any physical element to anything that you do anymore?
Not at the moment. People keep asking me to meet up again, but the problem is that if we have a physical meeting, then it means it then excludes everyone from all around the world, which is a great thing on this. But I might start organising some catch-ups in the Starbucks of a weekend again at some point. So I'll let you know. If you've registered in the Books Crypto Club group, then I'll post something up on there at some point if you want to come along.
Yeah, so I don't know how to find the group because I'm crypto Telegram group, and this was forwarded onto there. So I don't know what your group is that you're referring to, but I've been just to finish off, I've been kind of procrastinating on doing something in Milton Keynes. So that's why I was asking. But yeah, like, how do I find your Bucks thing?
So the easiest thing is go and find me on the internet. So just Google Gary Nuttall blockchain or Gary Nuttall emerging technology, and I'm a first 21 entries I think on the page, and you'll find a way to contact me through LinkedIn or something. In fact, I'll stink my LinkedIn connection. Ping me a note, and this goes for anyone else. Everyone on here, welcome to connect with me. And just send me a note, and I'll have a chat with you directly. It's not a problem, because always keen to grow the community, grow the network, and everything, and get more people into this. So, where's your kind of general interest then, Lawrence? What level of knowledge or whatever? What's your interest?
Quite basic, I would say. Quite basic, I would say. I like many people, it's only the last 2 years I've actually got involved in blockchain and Web3. So I would just say my knowledge is just kind of very generalized. I mean, you know, if someone was going to ask me about white papers and the ins and outs of like a particular blockchain technology, I wouldn't be able to answer. But just the general kind of like entry level stuff, I do know enough. I mean, I own various assets. I even have a create a coin of my own as like a tokenized utility for a club that I have on Discord. But besides from that, that's as much as I can say, really.
Okay. Well, you're amongst friends here, I guess. So we were just talking before. So Mac, who's based out in India, is trying to learn all he can around Web3 and coding and that kind of thing. Then we've got Pablo, who's a bit more kind of hands-on, I think is a fair way of describing it, and has been involved in the crypto space and that kind of thing for a few years. And then we've got JT, who's on as well, and he's been involved in a number of blockchain and crypto projects, and cyber security as well, I guess, is the other area. So yeah, if you've got any basic questions, feel free to ask away. Always keen to help people learn and develop in this space. In fact, you know, that's open to everybody. So Pablo and Mac as well, if there's anything else we can ask or cover, or we can take a look at the crypto market in general. If that's another area that's often of interest.
Just a quick question from my side, not a question. I just want to know if you had a chance to get into the UK Labs, the Bored Apes Metaverse recently in the weekend. Did you
get into the Metaverse? Did you say?
Yeah, Yuga Labs, the Bored Apes Metaverse. It seems like in a privileged Metaverse. They invited only around 4,000 to 5,000 developers. It was really popular here. People are talking all about it. So I just want to know if we had a chance to get in it. It was really pretty awesome. Did you check out the video there?
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of hype around the whole Metaverse space, and JT might be able to assist on this as well, because I know that Dubai has just announced a major investment in the whole Metaverse space. So they see it. Go ahead.
What is it?
Dubai. So in the United Arab Emirates. So I'm sure it was the Dubai government or some government agency made some announcement about a week ago, I think it was, or possibly less, about investing significantly in the Metaverse. So
Actually, yes, as a few months ago, I think they were starting like creating like a kind of NFT lands or something like that. I think it was, if I'm not sure.
I think you may be right. Yeah.
Yeah, a few months ago I heard about that, but supposedly was kind of like not really true yet, but probably yeah. I think they released it like a few weeks ago. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Lawrence, you're being polite enough to hold your hand up.
Yes, I do like to do that. It's I never like to cut in.
Yeah.
Yeah, just on the topic, I have to agree with you, Gary. I think the metaverse thing has all been quite hyped up. I mean, the whole concept of a metaverse has existed long before Web3 metaverses started to begin. There's like sci-fi novels where they refer to the metaverse, and you could look at like Half-Life and Afterlife as metaverses. I mean, even now we're talking across time and space via Zoom. You could say that's a form of a metaverse. So, I mean, not like at the moment, it's kind of like, it's like, oh, this metaverse, that, and that metaverse, that, and there'll be many different metaverses depending on the flavor that you want. But I do feel it is still very early days in that, and I agree with you. There's just a lot of hype about that, especially after Facebook changed the name to Meta, and then those tokens like Sandbox and Mana went up so high, but now they're back to pretty much where they were before.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And Max just shared something in the chat as well about Yuga Labs, who are behind Bored Apes. So you got the Bored Ape Yacht Club, which is one of the really well-known NFT spaces, and they've announced they're moving into funding things for the metaverse as well. So there's this article here where they're talking about like other side and moving into the whole space. So I agree. I see the metaverse basically as a convergence of a lot of old world internet-based capabilities. So as you say, Half-Life, Second Life, that kind of thing. Then you've got the more recent ones like Facebook announcing rebranding, and they're going at it from like the VR angle. Then you've got the gaming community, and they're kind of already in there in some ways. Now you've got the NFT community more moving into this as well. So yeah, I think there's a whole load of stuff going on, trying to work out which is going to be the leader to go with and which is the most interesting. Really don't know.
Yeah, seems like it's going to explode, and there has also been talks about Metaverse open standards. I guess you've heard about that one. So group of companies. Any thoughts on that? How far it will go? Because like all the famous companies like NVIDIA, Meta, Adobe, Sony, all these guys are joining the open standard, Metaverse open standard. So what do you think about that?
So if you think about what's happened with blockchain and DLT to begin with in terms of standards, you've got things like the International Standards Organization, but they've got ISO Technical Committee 307, which is coming up with a whole raft of standards around blockchain and DLT. So if only to give consistency of naming of what various things mean in that. TC 307's been going, I think, 3 years now, possibly a little bit longer. And they are doing things around standards of blockchain and DLT. And I think they're extending their reach into crypto now as well. It's possible they may well extend into NFTs in the future and into Metaverse in future. But for now, I think what's going to happen is I suspect that most standards will be driven by each different platform, which means it won't be a single standard. So you'll have the Facebook Meta standard. You'll have the OpenSea's NFT standard. You'll have all sorts. So I think standards are going to be all over the place for a few years, but you will have some convergence. The good thing, and this is where Web3 starts fitting in nicely, I guess, is that if a lot of the metaverse starts using NFT type artifacts, which are based on blockchain smart contracts, they themselves quite often adhere to a standard. So on Ethereum, an ERC 721 or an 1155, and same on Binance, same on Cardano and that. So maybe we'll see some standardization, even if we don't have absolute standards for a while. Go for it.
Okay.
Go on, Lawrence.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious, but like I understand the standards and there's the code that goes with the standard, but what does that actually mean when they use the word standard? Is it like there is like something in the code that has to be to that level to be classified as a standard, like ERC20 or what you just mentioned, 711 or whatever they're called?
Yep. So ERC20, for example, is a Ethereum proposal on how a smart contract should be structured. So it's kind of not a standard, but it is a standard in a way. So to me, a standard defines what your input is, what your output is, and a few things in between. ERC20 is a kind of a proposal that says, here are your standard inputs, here are your standard outputs, here's what you do type thing. So to me, a standard is simply, first of all, agreeing on what something means. That's the really basics, because if we can't agree on what we mean by distributed ledger, for example, we're stuffed. So a standard should have a common glossary of what the meaning of terms are, and then should have a common agreement on how things are processed. So in IT, you have what's called the SIPOC model, which is supplier input, process output, consumer, which basically says, data comes in this way, you process it in this way, and data goes out in this way. So
Gary,
yeah, go for it.
ERC20 token standard, it is a standard. If you do not code according to that standard, it will not work. There's a clear defined set of rules, properties, so that each token be exactly the same, being in type or value, doesn't matter, as any other token, that's, so it is really a standard. All of those ERC, including the 721, 1155, etc. These are clear defined standards,
But what they're defining is the input and the output, aren't they? They're saying you'll take this as input and you'll take this as output, because you can have an ERC20 smart contract, which is for your cryptocurrency, your crypto token, and it might include code considerably in excess of a basic ERC20 token. Is that right?
No, really, but there is many things that there are many things that ERC20 allows you to do. But it's not just about inputs and outputs. There are things you can actually, there's functions that you can. We have a programmer here, in Solidity, so he can tell you more about that. It's just not about inputs and outputs. There's a clearly defined standard. The functions.
One thing that we can say for standardizing is that it helps you a lot when it comes to cross-platform compatibility. So when there is standardization, there is a lot of cross-compatibility, and we need that in more, in Metaverse and whatever token blocks and everything. We need cross-compatibility. That's one thing.
So we take a look at, here we go, I've just pulled up the ERC20 token standard, and this is specifically about tokens, and it gives some definitions of how it can be used. But it also talks about, the body of the code and the methods. So the methods are the things that you can call, aren't they, and the events that get produced. So it is the actual standard itself of the minimum to be an ERC20 compliant token is not that much. I think you can write an ERC20 token in just a few lines of code.
It's quite simple, actually, to be honest,
But you
compared with other languages that we know,
But you can then call in a whole load of other things, can't you? But the basics is that's ultimately the minimum requirements or the minimum standard. So it's a fascinating area. Mac, were you going to say something on that?
I always assume the standards. So why I started the topic of Metaverse open standard is that today one of the hurdles that we are facing when it comes to mass adoption of blockchain or Web3 is that the cross compatibility. So every chain has their own standards, own complaints, and it becomes a really big problem for people to adapt. So let's assume that there is something like ISO which comes in and makes a standard. Okay, this is how Metaverse looks, and this is what the minimum framework that we are going to use. So in that case, not just large enterprises like Meta or Adobe or Nvidia come in. It also enables small business to get into Metaverse when there is standard. If there is no standard, you just keep just like what I said before. Everything has their own language to develop smart contracts, and it really just imagine what is Cardano, and everyone uses the same Solidity. Of course, each language has its own ups and downs, but I'm just saying if it is a standardized thing, then everyone can adopt very quickly, or else it will be a very big problem for mass adoption.
Well, the other thing to consider as well is interoperability. So if you take a look at things like Polkadot, which is like allows interoperability between blockchains. If you don't have some standardization on how things are processed on different blockchains, then you can't have them interoperating. And this is where I keep saying to people at the moment, it's a little bit like the video standards of a few years ago, where we had things like VHS and Betamax and this kind of thing. That the real thing that made it really powerful was the SCART standard, which was the socket on the back of the TV and the video player and that, which allowed the interoperability. And you can only do that if you've got some standards in some way. So I agree, they are very important.
Even within the same blockchain, you know, I mean, how could it have interoperability between tokens, swap tokens in ERC20, for example? So think it as a standard API. It's an API, really, you know, that allows that interoperability between the tokens within the same blockchain. Otherwise, if you don't have those standards, you can't do it. Now, when it comes to Metaverse, that's going to be quite interesting because there's so many people doing so many different things. Yeah. But if it is, I mean, you can create a Metaverse without crypto, without Web3. Okay. Let's face it, you know, we already heard some of the early proposals in 2003 and even before then, you know. Doesn't matter, Active Worlds or whatever, yeah, or the Palace, those are quite the Second Life and so on, so many, yeah. But the standards that are being built, or the metaverse that are being built on Web3 platforms, existing blockchains, yeah, and those blockchains have standards implemented. Now the interoperability is going to be between those blockchains. It's going to be all of those oracles that people are creating. It doesn't matter how you do it, being bridges, being whatever, you know. There's going to be one big problem for me in all of these, you know, which is how interoperability between the different virtual worlds is an interesting thing. How will a 3D object, you know, be represented on another virtual world, you know, or even your own avatar, yeah? And those are, I mean, there is no, someone needs to create at some point something that glues all of this together and allows all of that interoperability between all of the blockchains, all of the metaverses, and there's no such project created yet, you know, which is a massive task because I think for all of this to work with the metaverse, that needs to exist. Otherwise, there's going to be many virtual worlds empty, many, you know. I mean, so many being created, not gonna have all of these people, unless if there is an easy way for people to jump from one virtual world to the other, go with their avatar, or moving 3D objects that are being created. Doesn't matter if it's in a game, an NFT, or I don't know, some tower or something in another game, or even a building, you know. That interoperability between all of that could be created by Unreal 5 engine and all of those engines that people are creating, all of this stuff. But it's going to be quite interesting to see how it develops, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I don't know, Pablo, have you got any exposure on any of this? You've been taking a look at the metaverse at all?
Actually, I think I looked, yeah, but not that much, I will say. I remember when they released, I don't know which year was, Sandbox, and I was taking a look into it, and I was thinking like, oh, like makes sense, but I think the idea about GT is like is totally right. Like I think it's the have to be like that at the end, like the kind of one main metaverse to join the rest. It's like it totally makes sense. I think it's I didn't follow that at first because how I told you guys, like I didn't think too much about metaverse and about NFTs, but I think it's a really good way to try to connect like all the lands in one, and then they can move around. I think it's a really good idea about that. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be interesting where you've got some metaverses that are replicating the real world. So if you've got a metaverse that is meant to represent kind of like, choose Dubai, for example. Well, what you can't have is an engine Dubai and choose another meta and a meta Dubai type thing, because then you've got the thing of, well, I've got this token that says I own some land in virtual Dubai, but is it the engine virtual Dubai or the meta virtual Dubai? And when you're buying land, I mean, it's like simple things like the size of the property that you're buying and that, how is it defined? I don't know. Is it always defined in pixels or in square meters or what? Again, these are all things that need standards in some way.
In Sandbox, I remember I was quite defining, like, I don't know if you know about Minecraft. It was kind of that, like blocks, like small blocks, like when you step, you keep moving, it's like 1, 2, 3, like it's, like I think it was like that actually. But yeah, I don't know about too much about the other metaverse. Yeah.
And that's the thing.
A lot of different.
That's a good point. That you look at Minecraft, and I've seen some Minecraft stuff where it's all blocks that you put together and you build bridges and all this kind of thing. And then you go on to something like Roblox, which may be a little bit different, or which is Geometry Dash, which has got a whole coding capability, and so, and they don't look particularly interoperable, and it kind of comes back, as JT was saying, you need the ability to transfer things like your avatar or your land or whatever across all of these platforms. So yeah,
especially for the design, I would say too, like. Every metaverse have his own like the way they made it, like how do you say, like for example, like Minecraft, even the character is like full of blocks, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So if you join to for example to Sandbox, it's the same actually. Could be. No, it's not exactly the same, but could be something similar. But yeah, I think they're making like another metaverse that's totally different, like totally different. So I don't know how they can combine things like from there to the other one.
Well, I think aren't they ultimately defined as JSON files in how they're designed and structured? So as long as the designs follow the ability to import a JSON structure, then you may be okay. But I may be wrong again. This is at a level which is beyond me type thing. So, okay.
We're too early, I would say, that's for sure. About this metaverse, I would say.
Yeah, it's a fascinating thing. And Lawrence, I don't know, in terms of your interest in things like NFTs and the metaverse, is this something that you're trying to grasp or what?
Oh, I mean, once again, my understanding is quite basic, kind of surface level, but I own several Ethereum NFTs and some Solana NFTs. So I'm part of a community of people who use that NFT as access for the membership to the education and the content within the Discord server. So yeah, I'm familiar with those use cases.
Yep.
But beyond that,
the delights of 4G and Milton Keynes. See, this is the thing. We're talking about all sorts of exciting things with NFTs and metaverses and distributed systems and decentralized systems, and we still can't always get a reliable phone line, even in allegedly first world places. So let's change gear a little bit. It's maybe move on from NFTs and the metaverse and that. Anyone got any news or anything that they thought was interesting in the crypto world this week? I see the SEC court case against Ripple still hasn't finished.
No, that's going to take a while. Interesting for me was all the movements of Bitcoin going on, That was quite interesting to watch.
Tell us more about that. Which
Well,
movements?
there's a particular wallet that got 132,000 bitcoins moved. You know, there's a lot of talk about that wallet. So in the space of I would say 4 days, yeah, it got 132,000 bitcoins moved into it, and people are talking that maybe it's the MTGOX wallet, you know.
Okay.
But I don't think it is. You know, I did a quick look at it, but still, you know, there's a lot of it moved. So God knows what's going to happen. It could be the whales playing games, you know.
Is it an old wallet? Is it one that you can see was
No,
created?
it was a new wallet created, and then a lot of bitcoins start
Okay.
to be moved. You know, there was a few tests that run, you know,
Yep.
as they usually do. That they moved, I think, 500 bitcoins, and then they took it out, and then they start to move like 20,000 each time, you know. But it's very interesting. It could be whales playing games, you know.
Yep.
So people think it's going to be sold, yeah, and then people start to short, you know, and then they go the other way, and they call those shorts out. So, but the MTGOX is going to be finally returned. You know, there's 100. Well, total I think is 200,000 bitcoins, but I think they've already there was 140,000 rightly claimed, and that's what they're going to distribute. So it's going to be between now and end of August. So the market could be flooded quickly with 140,000, and people could keep them. So we don't know what's going to happen really.
Okay, interesting one. Lawrence, you're going to ask something.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, can hear.
Yeah, cool. We'll keep the video off. Like I said, I'm in a big park, but yeah, I mean, there's a couple of snippets that I saw on Instagram. I've not done a deep dive or looked into them further, but they're just like headlines. Yeah, so JP Morgan, I don't know if it holds anything to that, but them claiming that the bear market's ending, but I don't know. I really think that's, I don't know, JP Morgan, you know, changed their opinion on crypto, and I'm just not a big fan of I mean, as I'm sure most people in crypto are not a fan of the traditional banking system, but crypto.com, if anyone uses crypto.com, they launched an integration for Google Pay. That's one exchange that I have used originally, but and Texas to add crypto rights for its citizens. Apparently, Republican Party in Texas is eyeing the introduction of a new clause into Bill of Rights that would allow Texans to own and use any medium of exchange of their choice, including crypto.
Okay, that's quite a significant one, isn't it? Because that gives kind of a credibility at the state level, at least, to alternative things that aren't necessarily regulated.
That's also interesting because, like, I know people who are based in Texas, and they have issues trying to purchase crypto on exchanges. So people in the community that I'm part of, like people who live in New York State and people who live in Texas, have like all experienced like delays and getting their crypto withdrawals from Coinbase or be able to purchase things. So that is interesting that Texas state are going to put that in.
And that's curious as well, because Consensus was in Texas a few weeks ago. Consensus being a really big conference in Austin, in Texas. So, yeah, I think some of the states are becoming quite crypto friendly, or at least crypto neutral, unlike New York, which is quite crypto anti at the moment. Yeah. The other one, quickly picking up on what you're saying about Google Pay, because I noticed an announcement the other day, or someone shared something with me, and he's from Google, about the new Google Pay wallet. Now, he didn't mention about crypto, but he did mention that there's a new Google wallet that's coming out, which is replacing Google Pay, I think. And
It's quite good. It's quite good, actually, to be honest. Okay. Yeah. It's you can see what's coming, from Google.
Because for me, as soon as you start talking about wallet these days, then there's no reason why that can't extend to be a crypto wallet. So, yeah, I think that may be a natural extension. So, yeah, that's a good shout, Lawrence. In fact, several good ones on that. Definitely worth keeping an eye on what Google up to.
You're welcome.
the other move was announced with Barclays taking a stake in copper, you know.
Okay.
That's quite significant because it's like a 2 point something billion stake, and copper is a very good what's it called?
It's a crypto custodial service, isn't it?
Crypto custodian, yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
Crypto custodian service. Yeah, they're expensive, but they are pretty good and quite solid actually. So they are one of the top three, in my opinion, you know. So that for me is quite significant, you know. I don't know what Barclays is playing at. Still don't allow people businesses to create accounts, you know, crypto businesses to create accounts, yeah. But they are getting to crypto with the custodian of cryptocurrencies. That's a bit odd one, you know. So they probably have something coming out soon. I'm very suspicious about these moves. From doesn't matter, JP Morgan saying that, you know, everything is okay. It's because they finished buying Bitcoin, so they were trying to push the price up. You know, probably, who knows?
Yeah, and in fact, Lawrence, thank you. He's just shared a link on the announcement about Barclays.
Yeah, I saw that on Telegram just before I came to here. But I agree with the gentleman that was just speaking. You know, I'll be very skeptical because I agree. Like, it's like they don't want customers to be able to buy it, but they will. So yeah, I have the same opinion.
Yeah, I think that's always the thing. That was what I found funny the other week about PayPal's announcement. That PayPal, which has allowed its members to buy and sell cryptocurrency up till now, but what it hasn't allowed is for them to transfer directly over the network crypto. So kind of like wallet to wallet via the PayPal network. And I find that quite weird because I used to describe cryptocurrency as effectively being like a peer-to-peer payment system, a bit like PayPal, but without needing PayPal. But now PayPal have actually moved into that space. I can't use that analogy anymore. So I think you're right. There are some interesting things going on. So there we go. Yeah, thank you for that.
About PayPal, I think was kind of like before it was in the US only, right? Because I was trying to use it. I have a PayPal account before and I couldn't use it for crypto. They literally didn't let me the choice. I don't know if it's now possible to do it in Europe too.
So I think in Europe you can use it to purchase crypto now. I don't think they've rolled it out yet where you can transfer crypto.
Yeah, it's like Revolut.
So you can use it to pay for goods.
Yeah.
But you can't use it to actually transfer to other people. So you can't use it as a form of exchange type thing. But then if you're in the crypto space, you probably don't want to go via a third party anyway. I mean, this is the whole thing. I give you my wallet details and you send it directly. So yeah, lots of interesting things going on there.
In Revolut, I know they're doing the same. Like you can purchase and you can sell, but you cannot transfer, and you don't have any wallet to transfer to them too. So it's like, for me, make any sense, to be honest. Yeah. So
this is where definitely I think the Google announcement, which wasn't particularly a big announcement, given what the significance could be longer term, you know, because as JT says that their kind of infrastructure and their setup is generally pretty good, you know, and they've usually thought about these things in depth. So it does seem inevitable that they'll extend it to be not just a bit of a form of payment for fiat, but it wouldn't take that much to extend it to be crypto as well.
Look, Samsung, the latest phones that they have, like the S22, for example, you know, that has a pretty strong wallet and the encryption is pretty good, you know. So
here it is.
Yeah, I have one of those as well. I have to say I'm very, very impressed. So they are all preparing, and you know, what I've been saying for the last 2-3 years, Gary, you know, is these giants are going to come when there are regulations in place, and they will take over. Very simple. So they are preparing with small little things, you know. As soon as the regulations are there, you watch it, you know.
Yep. And that's what I keep saying about the whole regulatory space. But I think we're going to go through a phase where governments and regulators are going to take a little bit too much interest in the crypto space. They're going to worry about it. They're going to put in place a load of restrictive regulation for a while, and then it'll ease off. But what it does mean is that once crypto is regulated, that allows the mainstream players to then actively participate in a regulated market, which they just can't do yet. So yeah, that's why I think crypto is 1/10 or 1/100th the size of where it will be in a few years' time. This is not financial advice, by the way.
Yeah. You have to say that. You have to say that. Make sure.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Gary. No, too late. Now I'm gonna buy Bitcoin.
I was going to do it directly.
Okay. Folks, we're pretty much coming on to the hour, and I always try and close this off at 8 o'clock. So I was just going to say thank you, everyone, for coming along today. I hope those who joined who haven't been before found it interesting, and those who have before did as well. Those who are watching it on YouTube, do click on the subscribe and like, and hopefully see you all again. This is I hold this every Sunday evening, UK 7 p.m. BST at the moment, before the clocks change. Everyone's welcome. Come along, ask questions, share ideas, share knowledge. The more we can help educate each other, the better. So have a great day, everybody.